Early tech choices are always one of the things that catch players off guard. Only 30% of you that not smash the ever-living crap out of that subscribe button. Smash it so you guys don't miss out on more awesome content. Number one over here is going to be Forbidden Droplet. We have seen this card rocketing into orbit right now because with Kashtira supposedly falling out of the format here, we got like the duality of the format busters here where people are like, oh my gosh, like Kashtira is the best deck. You have other people over here that's like, no, Kashtira is not the best deck. So when you're seeing the duality of these people looking at this format here, very different opinions, but what most people are agreeing on is, yeah, you should probably have your Forbidden Droplets right now. Reason why Droplet was not able to exist in Kashtira format was strictly because you can't pay the cost on the darn thing. Mr. Arise Heart says, no fun allowed. So players right now have reversed course, and they've actually, we've already seen Forbidden Ulti Droplets shoot up in crazy expectations in terms of crazy value. Now, what I have seen out of this for very early tournament results here was I saw Droplet in a few places. It wasn't like a huge, crazy turnover conversion rate, but it was something that players were kind of looking at, and they were going, you know, maybe this is something that we can honestly do. Now, obviously, with Kashtira being on the top end of expectancy here, you can definitely know that Droplet's not always going to be a fantastic choice, especially, you know, if they just Arise Heart pass. Obviously, if you could pay that cost, Droplet would not be what it is, but this is one of those cards that has some of the biggest hype going for it here in new format, and I think that's kind of impressive, honestly. The fact that, you know, just the immediate destruction of multiple copies of Arise Heart here, taking away, you know, the extra value that we could get out of this, really just shifted people's expectations on what they could expect. So, good stuff. Anytime the Forbidden Droplet can do its thing, it's good. Next up is Dimensional Fissure. And somebody's going to go, why Dimensional Fissure over Macrocosmo? Or I'd be like, what are you trying to say here? Well, first of all, I think the Dimensional Fissure is very interesting, at least in terms of discussion point for Kashtira. Obviously, Kashtira does have a Rise Heart, but they don't have a Rise Heart. In Shifter, obviously. Both of those cards make the deck what it is, but I was seeing a couple people discussing the fact that, you know, if we play Dimensional Fissure in the deck, it does open up extra pressure to make sure that, you know, your opponent doesn't get access to the graveyard. Because, you know, with Kashtira kind of losing a lot of its power, more graveyard-oriented decks, guess what? They get to return back into the game, and that might not be something that Kashtira players want. Now, the downside of the Dimensional Fissure is how many bricks are you trying to push in to your Kashtira deck? Kashtira is already very famously one of those decks in the format right now that is the king of bricking, all right? Like, you have to understand, like, Kashtira does have a lot of good one-card engines, but it bricks so hard on itself. The deck has such a hard time in so many alleys. It is crazy to me. So to see that people are considering Dimensional Fissure, I'm not surprised at any stretch of the imagination, but my problem with trying to do that is you're opening up more dead draws for yourself. And I feel like it's not exactly the best optimal thing. There's really nothing too much in the format that I'd be worried about here that is graveyard oriented. You know what I mean? Like, obviously people will try to reach for things that they think are going to be issues. I think Dimensional Fissure is an early tech choice. I don't know. Next up is Evenly Matched. We're back at this point. You know, anytime I see the talking point for Evenly Matched, it's like, well, I mean, yeah, look at last format, though. You know, but actually, look at the last two formats. 2 formats ago, we were gridlock, and we were slamming Evenlies on the table. We were playing go in second, everything, all right? It was fantastic. It was a good time. You kind of accelerate into, you know, what last format was looking like directly before the ban list. Evenly had essentially disappeared. You might see one in a deck that was a thrust target, and it was far less than it actually was. Now that, you know, the format has kind of opened back up here, players they're looking back to Evenly Matched right now, and they're going, you know, do we have a viable option of going second? And I honestly think that we do right now. The fact that you can actually go second, at least hypothetically in this format, and get value, especially like the Kashtira player, like gets very scared with their Arise Heart. You know, they commit like all this extra stuff, and you're able to like clean up 2 to 3 cards. Like if you can clean up a Birth and a Shangri-La off of that, then you just obviously have to deal with, you know, the Arise Heart after that. Okay, they cannot banish that Arise Heart because they just shut off their deck at that point in time. They need to be very, very, very careful with what they do. Actually, you can suck up a Finray too. It's really good value right now. I think a lot of people are going to look at Evenly Matched right now, and they're going to go absolutely bonkers for the card. So if you're playing some sort of going second variation of anything, I think you have hope. I think there's a lot of cool things to be said about the format. And I think Evenly, is it really a tech trend, or is it just a shift in the format? Like a going second format is definitely something that you need to be aware of. So good stuff. Next up is crossout designator. We're actually putting this on the tag list right now, so this is actually kind of interesting. Typically when I see crossout designator show up in a format, it's to counter a problem that stops a deck from playing, which would be obviously Droll and Lockbird. But a lot of people are looking at Droll right now and they're going, well, Droll's gonna fall out of the format. And I do kind of agree. I think that Droll is going to recede back into the format until a later time where we might need it again. Ash is definitely going to be the value card, and it's kind of looking like Space Rock. We'll talk about Nibiru here in a second. For the most part here, crossout designator, I think it's too early to be bringing this in, unless you're a Despia player and you're hog shit crazy worried about some hand trap actually resolving. And I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you here, Despia's got 9,000 problems. Hitting that crossout designator is like the one big W that you can get, or you can be like the one comments like just just imperm the Albion when they try to bring back the gimmick puppet, and you're like, you can't do that. Albion literally says it can't be targeted. So Yu-Gi-Oh players out here thinking that you can imperm the Albion for the gimmick puppet, you know, I guess whatever they think. Card text is a very hard thing to understand, but Despia has been the main one that I've seen looking at crossout designator. I think at this point in time, it strictly is a tech choice to decide, well, do I lose to this card actually seeing play? And then, you know, it's very much, well, yeah, I might actually lose to that. So we have to kind of bring in the counter pick to see that. So very, very, very interesting discussion point on crossout designator, strictly in the Despia department of things. And do with that info what you will. There's a lot to be desired right now, at least from my personal choice with crossout designator. So, all right, now we're going to bring up the last little question mark section here. We'll drop Nibiru in here as well. Nibiru is very hyped this format. It's one of those cards that I think is going to kind of topsy-turvy the format in a certain regard. You got people looking at Droll and Lockbird right now going, it's probably going to fall out, which is fine. Thrust and talents are going to be major drivers this format. I guarantee you that when you see a Sky Striker player thrusting into an engage, you're going to look at them and you're going to go, what in the world did I just deal with? And that's going to be a lot of the format here. It's going to be a lot of sacking aspects of things that a lot of people aren't going to have fun with. And with thrust and talents running around, I can't tell you the amount of thrust into talents to take an Arise Heart that I've seen this format and then slap a Zeus on top of it. Arise Heart is like not a super scary threat anymore, because thrust talents into that is just literally free real estate at this point. So, you know, in terms of the tech choices and things that players are bringing to the table to counteract these things, they're very, very real. Like, people have already started analyzing this and like, all right, so Arise Heart, Kashtira, yeah, it can do its thing. Honestly, going second Cash feels like a lot better of a deck this format, but you're going to have to wait and see how people kind of soup up here. These are just very early tech choices and things that I'm seeing being discussed, some ideas that people are kind of bringing to the table. Whether or not they stick will be something that we'll have to wait and see, but you are so far into the new format right now that it's pretty amazing, honestly. So what do you guys think about everything? Please leave a comment down below, tell me what you guys think, and of course there will be a lot more to come. We'll have tier list starting very, very soon. You guys have a good rest of your day. All right, patrons, thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.